Hey guys, it's Matt Higgins. This new series of videos is going to be called What If? The first video in the series is going to cover what if Jar Jar was not found by Qui-Gon on Naboo. As we all remember, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan snuck aboard separate Trade Federation droid transports to reach the surface. Qui-Gon then runs into the clumsy Gungan Jar Jar Binks while escaping the droid transport. He tackles Jar Jar to save him from getting hit by the transport. However, let's say that Qui-Gon never actually runs into Jar Jar. So just a disclaimer, this is my thought as to what would happen and is strictly my own opinion. Just FYI. Alright, let's get started. So Qui-Gon is running away from the transports, but instead of letting them pass over him, he would continue running until he could reach the rendezvous point. There he would meet up with Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan and his master would discuss their next move. However, with the Trade Federation forces pushing, they would have to move quickly. The two Jedi would not know how to get to Theed, but would follow the tracks of the droid army as they knew that that was their final target. Giving the army lead time as to not have their presence detected, the two Jedi would eventually reach Theed once the city had become occupied. Without the strategic positioning near the capital, reaching the palace would prove difficult, as it would be heavily guarded. Stuck on the outskirts of the city, they would hide in the homes of Theed citizens. Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan would not know the exact location of the Queen on the palace grounds. Back on Coruscant, the Senate would be in crisis. Chancellor Valorum would not be able to quell the building tension after days of deliberation. Some were saying that the invasion was an act of tyranny or treachery, while others would deny that the invasion occurred entirely. With the Senate stuck in eternal turmoil, the Jedi Council would host an emergency meeting. The Council would come to the conclusion that they needed to extract Queen Amidala and bring her before the Senate. In secret, the Jedi would dispatch a small task force. To sneak past the trade blockade, the Jedi task force will jump out of hyperspace in the upper atmosphere of the planet. Fellow Jedi members will assist by generating a bogus Trade Federation clearance code. The Trade Federation would detect the oncoming ship, but would not have a visual. The Jedi team would leave the next day. As the team prepared to jump out of hyperspace, they initiated the clearance code. Upon successfully reaching their intended destination, the nearest blockade ship recognized the clearance code, but would calm the ship. The ship commander would ask what went wrong, but a Jedi linguist would respond that they had miscalculated the jump, but it did not remove them from their designated route. The Jedi would land the ship away from Theed in the outskirts. A ripple in the Force would give the location of Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan's position. The Jedi would sneak their way into Theed until they met in a citizen's home and found Master Qui-Gon and his apprentice. However, this was no ordinary citizen's home. It was the cover for the underground resistance movement, Nubian Sovereignty. Understanding that time was of the essence, the Jedi and the Resistance leaders would devise their plan beginning the following morning. The next day, the Resistance and their citizen allies caused chaos at one end of the palace, drawing the droids away from the prison camp. Using knowledge from an escaped Royal Guard member, the Jedi snuck onto the palace grounds and stealthily extracted the Queen and several of her other personnel. They snuck into the palace hangar and would find a Trade Federation shuttle used to ferry cargo. The Naboo cruiser that was there would be gone, as to prevent an alternative method of escape. After the droids' comms were disabled and themselves discarded, the Jedi and the freed prisoners would quickly get on board the shuttle. The Jedi, knowing the importance of the mission, sent their best to extract the Queen. A Jedi with great knowledge of mechanics and circuits would hotwire the shuttle. the shuttle would escape the blockade without a hiccup. In the middle of an argument in the Senate, Queen Amidala would be brought out and testify to the suffering of her people. Her heart-touching speech would tilt the Senate in favor of sending aid to the planet. The blockade would still stand, but would continue to get looser as the days rolled on. After enough pressure from the Senate, the Trade Federation would give up their occupation. In the end, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan would never have to land on Tatooine, and thus Anakin would go undiscovered. So let me know what you guys think. What do you think would happen? Leave your version in the comments below. So that's about it, guys. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't, and subscribe for more prequel related content, including lore, discussions, as well as anything canon about the prequel trilogy. Thanks, guys, and may the Force be with you always.